Hey everyone, today I'm creating 20 cards using the Call Me Crafty SheetLoad of Card template from November 2025. This template helps you create a whole series of cards using predominantly pattern papers, but this month it's a little bit different. We have a guest team member in our creative team this month, and it's Sarah from Sassy's LLC. And she has a series of digital papers and digital sentiments that are available as well. I have not used those today, but there are links below to Sarah's channel and Alicia's channel where you can find out more information about all of those if you are interested. Today I am using my giant pile of bits and pieces from Paper Rose. I got a series of 6x6 pattern paper. Some of them have some printing errors or some they're cut incorrectly or a slightly unusual shape. They were part of a bulk pack that I got on clearance probably 2 years ago now. And I absolutely love using them for sheet loads because it means I can create lots of different designs using the same card sketch. Now, right here, I'm actually cutting down some of the white panels that are part of the sketch today. And there are a couple of layers. So there is a white panel with thin strips of pattern paper that zigzag across. And then we have a colored cardstock matting layer. And then we have a little, embellishment or interesting piece that goes on top. Now, part of the giveaway or part of the things that you can download is based off the circle sentiment as part of this design, but I decided that I wanted to use up some of my quarter circle sentiments that you can see on the left hand side of the screen. Those are from a previous sheet load template, so I've decided today that I'm going to use those and then all pattern papers and all layering with either white, craft or black. Now, in terms of the bit that I'm going to put on top, I have decided to cut down some of these 6x6 sheets to create 4 little elements from each one. And they are 2 1/4 wide and 3 inches high. So it does give me a leftover piece of pattern paper that I'll need to use for another project. But it's really important that these are more than 2 inches wide so that there's some pattern paper that runs down the left-hand side of that quarter circle sentiment. You can see I have a few different ones today. There's some hello, there's some hooray, and there's some thank you ones as well. I will say creating this project, there was a lot of use of my trimmer. So I love this one. I've had this one for a long time. It measures things really well. I know exactly how to line things up so I get a true cut when I'm doing a border or a matting layer around an element. For the sentiments here, you can see as I explained before, there is a little bit of pattern paper to the left, which is why I made them 2 1/4 wide. It's actually quite helpful to attach these to pattern paper in something that has a corner on it. So you could use your trimmer or your MISTI or something else. But given my circles here with the sentiments on it were really, really thick, heavy cardstock, I found it was easy enough just to kind of hold them into the corner and let the liquid glue dry. Now for each of these, I'm going through and I've got these pieces of pattern paper that have been cut per the instructions, and I'm mixing up 3 of one and 2 of another. So I've used all pattern paper. I believe the sketch calls for some colored cardstock, but I decided just to use up some of my supplies. So I didn't want to introduce anything else into the design because by adding the pattern paper on top, I had already made it a little bit busier than the original sketch. Because these little strips of paper were cut out of a 6x6 pattern paper and they're 4 inches by 3/4 of an inch, I was able to get 8 of them from each piece of paper, which meant it worked out absolutely perfectly. Actually, not 8, I got 10. And what that meant is I was able to use 3, 3, and 2, and with an alternate pattern, put that together to do 3, 3, and 2, which gave me 5 pieces of pattern paper for each of the card designs. Now, hopefully that makes sense, but I guess the point is I cut out lots of different strips of different designs and worked out if I partnered them up in pairs of 2, that I would be able to create the exact amount of cards that I needed. I was a little bit worried about how it was going to be when I added the paper zigzagging down the white layer here, but I've put it on my grid panel and I created a little bit of a template to the left, and then I just decided I was not going to worry about it too much and I was just going to do it by eyesight. and they did turn out pretty well. So if I was consistent with the white gap on the left and right, then everything worked out pretty balanced. But I do know that Alicia has something on her channel that will help you. And there's also something in the sketch, if you download that, that will help you too, if just doing it by eyesight is something that you're not comfortable with. So everybody has thought ahead to make sure that you have a great experience trying to create some cards with the SheetLoad this month. I've cut some strips that are 1/4 inch wider than my feature panels so that I can attach them like I've done here and then trim them down once. I find this easier than cutting the mats the perfect size and then having to trim them down anyway. It just means that I can line up multiples on one piece of cardstock and then do them bulk style. For my cards, I decided that some of them worked really well with a black matting layer, which I rarely use black, and others worked quite well with craft. So in the end, I did a bit of a sample card here to make sure I was happy with how it looked. And then I prepped everything else and then made my choices about what was going to be on black and which ones were going to be on craft. In the end, I think I had more black than I did craft. And what I would say is anything that has a little bit more of a softer color palette, when you put it on the craft, it makes it a little bit sort of quieter and a little bit more of a pale color. But when you put on the black, it makes the colors really pop. So some of them I decided to go one method and some the other. And in fact, some of them where there was 4 that are similar pattern papers, I did 2 of each so that I would have a little bit of variety in the cards that I completed today. If you are enjoying the video, it would be great if you could hit the like button. That is how YouTube knows to share the video with more viewers. So thank you in advance for that. I do also normally put any of the products that I've used in the description below, just in case you're trying to find anything. But the things that I'm using today are lots of leftovers and bits and pieces from prior projects. And all of these pattern papers from Paper Rose, I'm not sure what they're called. So if there's something that you see that is of interest, please put a question or a comment down below and I will see if I can track it down for you. Other than that, I just think they have a range of beautiful papers. So anything that you have in your stash, I think would be perfect for this card sketch. And if you're looking for anything from Paper Rose, I highly recommend it. And I will always cheer them on because they are an Australian company and I'm obviously from Australia. Okay, so now I'm chopping down these toppers. These are the ones with the craft. And I did make sure that the backing matting layer and then the mat on the sentiment on top were the same. So they're either both craft or both black. I didn't mix any of them up between the cards themselves. This process here of putting the topper straight in the middle, I just did it by eye. And what I found is if I sort of line it up and don't press it down so that I can get the angle correct, it's pretty straightforward. And then the same thing with adding the full card onto the card base, because this has a bigger gap around the edge than I am used to. I have put another video here that I think you might enjoy. Have a great day.